curbside. I bought like the whole set. Like I bought a car charger, a new charging cable, the portable battery.
Well, that's one interesting way to start a show. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley broadcast, brought to you by Roughneck Scarves, Natural Beauty Spa, and Icarus FC. And of course, huge shout out to the Beautiful Game Network for all that they do, for all of their hosting. Be sure to check out their website at bgn.fm. By the way, on bgn.fm, you can find the latest article by Carson Merck, the OG, for his segment, All Toros, No Bull, where he talks about this past match against San Diego Loyal. But go ahead and check that out. But we'll be talking about that too as well. We've got a good show for all of you. First of all, hopefully everybody can hear me and I'm not a little bit too loud. I'm still kind of like getting used to the Go XLR. But anyway, hope you all enjoy the show. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got, first of all, we'll talk about the match against San Diego Loyal. Of course, it is officially San Antonio Hate Week. And I know both fan bases have started off strong with the back and forth banter leading up to this Sunday's match against San Antonio FC. So we'll be talking about that as well. We did invite Harry from the San Antonio Soccer's Roundtable. I know Rey was on his show on Monday, so he'll probably talk a little bit about how it went with him there. But I do want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Harry says, let me know, Edson, when you want me to jump on and educate you on the greatness of SAFC. We're here to talk facts. We're not about the fake news. So we're here. There's two things. Sin mentir, ni insultar. Ay, muy como la RG. But yeah, let's not lie. Let's not insult. Okay. Santos says, just wait till SA gets a taste of our independent Toros. They could barely beat the Dynamo B team. He's not wrong. He is definitely not wrong. Unless that, I guess you can say 2020 season was kind of like the what's it called? The outcast, to be honest. It was like the exception to the rule. But anyway, Jorge Peña from Facebook. Hello from McAllen, Texas. Hey, how's it going, Jorge? I know he's a very avid follower from all of our social media, from Instagram, from Twitter, from Facebook. So it's good to have you join us on the show. Hope you enjoy it. By the way, guys, not forget, the chat is open. If you guys want to talk about anything, if you guys want to just banter against each other, the platform is all open for you. We'll be coming back to the chat every now and then as the show progresses. Harry, we will see you. You know that RGV is scared because they moved the game. Harry, come on. We'll talk about that later. The last year of the divorce season.
Yeah, we'll give you the real information when you get here, Harry. That's fine.
Oh, Jacob starting off strong this show, calling him out. But yeah, Gilbert says 2020 was definitely an outlier for a lot of teams. Definitely, you got a pandemic going on. You know, the USL Championship was kind of trying to figure out what they wanted to do. Teams were coming out positive without outbreaks of COVID-19. You had the Dynamo; they can't even figure out what to do with their lives with their first team, much less the affiliate. And I'm definitely glad that they don't have to deal with us anymore. But anyway, already spent too much time babbling about. Now let's go ahead and introduce. You know them very well. We have our co-host. I guess now since Rey's been here consistently for I don't know how long. I think he's just our third co-host at this moment now. But let's introduce our co-host. First off, we've got Jacob Jung. Jacob, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Ready to talk about soccer once again here. And yeah, it's going to be a good week for RGVFC. And Yeah, I mean, it was a good week last week, too. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
And of course, we've also got from the South Texas Border Sports podcast, Rey Silva. Rey, how are you doing?
Hi, Edson. Hi, everyone in general. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege to be on once again. And this is, I guess, my favorite, one of my favorite times of the year, Derby week. The census, the expectations of having another Derby to be played at HB Park, and I can't wait to be a part of another one.
Oh, I don't think anybody is not eager for this upcoming game, because if with a Dynamo B team, it was pretty competitive for the most part. Just imagine both being independent clubs. This game's gonna have a lot of fireworks. I can assure you that. I want a big shout out as well to Mike Reyes, the VP of the Stampede, is in the house. Everybody, he says, "Get him, Edson." Of course I am. I always go for the San Antonio fans. I may fail sometimes, but I go after them. But anyway, before we talk about the San Antonio versus RGVFC Derby, let's focus on the last game that we played. It has definitely been a while. We're not used to playing on Thursdays, but so San Diego Loyal, the team that U.S. national team legend Landon Donovan coaches, came to the Rio Grande Valley. They were trying to shake off a loss that they had in their opening game against Phoenix Rising, and I think for the most part, San Diego Loyal came in to try to get the Toros uncomfortable. And I mention this because I feel like San Diego was trying to go for that high pressure up against the Toros. And it seemed after the first 10, 15 minutes, it seemed like it was working well for San Diego Loyal. They were causing a lot of issues in transition. They were controlling, they were getting possession of the ball in the midfield, and that was causing a lot of problems for RGV. Had a lot of opportunities that San Diego had in that first half. And it got to the point where they ended up getting a goal, but it was just called back for an offside. So we were lucky there. Tyler Derrick, as always, a beast back there, stopping almost all the opportunities that came up to his into his area. But let's go ahead and show you the lineup for this particular match. It was very interesting. I think, as we mentioned, we feel we weren't going to have a lot of changes going into this match. But we did kind of mention that the lineup was going to actually now have Eric Pimentel, now that he was going to be eligible to play after his transfer being accepted by the league and the federation. So we'll start with obviously with the goalkeeper. We've got Tyler Derrick with his man of the match card from FIFA Ultimate Team. And then you also had in the defense, you had Grant Robinson, who was the man of the match for the first match against New Mexico United. He repeated in the lineup. And then you had Juan David Cabezas starting again as a center back for the Toros in this match. Then you had the debut now of Eric El Puma Pimentel in that lineup. I guess we'll see right now. So now with that movement, with the inclusion of Eric Pimentel, you had Carter Manley move over to the right back position. His natural position. I've mentioned it before. I'm not really keen about him as a right back, or at least from what I saw from 2020. But he honestly didn't look that bad in this match, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. So that's your defensive lineup right there. Then in the middle, you had, as a center defensive midfielder, you had James Murphy repeat. By the way, it was Camden Riley that had to be sacrificed in the back line in order to put in Eric Pimentel in that back line. So, like I mentioned, you had James Murphy. Then you also had Rodrigo Lopez, who made it to the bench for this week's Team of the Week. And then, of course, you had Wang Kuzain out on the other side, out on the right-hand side. And then up on top, you had Sort. It was pretty much the same as the game number 1 against New Mexico United. You had Christian Sorto. You had Elvis Amo. And to complete the starting 11, you had Alexis Cerritos. So that was, like I said, that was the starting 11 by the Toros against the San Diego Loyal. So Jacob, what were your thoughts on this particular lineup?
I mean, I think the lineup was fine. It's one of those situations. I mean, for the most part, it went back to what I even said last week. Just don't necessarily change it. Of course, if we get new players, you're going to kind of have to change it up a little bit just to see how they would react as a starter with the team. Of course, that's kind of done in practice. So definitely Wilmer saw something in that, and it kind of worked out. So, yeah, initial thoughts, I mean, I was fine with the lineup. It's not too bad, and like I said, it worked last week a little bit, so it must work for the next.
Ray?
You know, I kind of like this lineup, and I kind of felt the change at the break where they took out James Murphy and brought in Dispe as a center back and slotted over Juan David Cabezas as a midfielder to kind of destroy and break up that high press of San Diego. I kind of felt like that kind of changed the momentum of the game a little bit, because you kind of saw San Diego lose balls a little bit more in the attacking end, and helped Juan David Cabezas start propel that attack to eventually get a match winner late on by El Chenton Vicente Sanchez.
So I'm looking at the chat right here, and by the way, huge shout out to Sloth as well as Gilbert and Santos, who the president coming in. But there's one particular comment that kind of struck my eye right now. Sloth says Pimentel looks shaky in the first half. Do you agree with this?
I kind of do agree with it, because first of all, he's had a lot of time inactive as far as having like actual game activity. So I can kind of agree with that assessment somewhat, but I think as the season progresses, you're going to start seeing him being the normal center back that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I make of it, because Juan David Cabezas isn't your traditional center back either, but he's there by volunteer choice to kind of help anchor the rest of the line.
Yeah.
And which is why you kind of saw that introduction of Dispe and Pimentel play side to side to kind of help anchor that center back line, while Juan David Cabezas would just play just in front of them to kind of be like that default center back, kind of using the line of 5, but actually playing with the line of 4 type of thing.
Correct. Juan David Cabezas would play his center defensive midfield position, his natural position, the position that he played with the Houston Dynamo under Wilmer Cabrera.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, that change at halftime, where he sacrifices James Murphy to bring in Arturo Dispe and kind of help that midfield with Juan David Cabezas being in his natural position. And if you guys recall, one of the things I criticized Wilmer Cabrera was his lack of adapting to the situations of the game. Mm-hmm. And you look at this match, and he made the adjustment early on enough to get to get the team kind of used to that new formation or that new lineup in that second half, and that helped tremendously for them not to look as shaky as before.
And and this is where I kind of have to compliment a lot Wilmer. He kind of once he made that change at the break, bringing in Dispe and sliding back Juan David Cabezas as his normal central defensive midfielder, it kind of reshaped the way San Diego had to do their attack, because their two main attacking players had to be subbed off. And you're talking about Alejandro Guido, who's been a pretty good player in the USL, and you have Corey James Herzog, who's been one of the more lethal strikers in the entire championship. And for him to have done that change the way it did, and San Diego making those subs, you knew right away that there was some blood in the water after those two changes by San Diego.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and mention San Diego's lineup. So you had Trey Muse as a goalkeeper. You had Metcalf. Zizo, Vankayazil, and Joshua Yarrow as your defensive line. Then you had in the midfield, looks like you had 5 midfielders with Charlie Adams and Colin Martin as your defensive midfielders. Then line of 3 in front of them with Jack Blake on the right, Alejandro Guido as that center attacking midfielder, and Elijah Martin out on the left. And up on top, you mentioned Corey Herzog as the striker. Honestly, I didn't really see much of Corey Herzog, and I think that speaks volumes on the Toros defensive lineup.
Exactly, and this is the second time where Corey Herzog plays against the Toros, and it's like the Toros have known to isolate big time strikers in the attacking end.
You want to know what proves how desperate Corey Herzog was in this match? If you go to the USO website, man, I wish I could show it to you all. But anyway, so the USO website on the Match Center has maps with, obviously you've got the starting 11 formation, and you've also got a tab where it'll show you the average position of that starting 11 within the game. Mm-hmm. Corey Herzog, his average position was right at the center line, behind Guido, which meant that Herzog had to leave his position to try to find a ball to him, because he just wasn't reaching any balls from his teammates.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much of a decent job, how much of a decent job our defensive lineup did against Corey Herzog. Now, however, that's the positive side. On the negative side, I feel like our wingbacks looked a little bit more vulnerable. Grant Robinson and Carter Manley looked a little bit more vulnerable in this match compared to the last match against New Mexico United.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best yourself before. Toros got lucky with a goal being called back. That's, of course, one of the things. And, of course, it was just one of those situations where I think it was a little too much with the defense. Yes, the defense is great, but more possession still is kind of what I'm hinting towards. I think Toros just needed a little bit more of that possession and needed to kind of keep the ball in the opposing side's midfield just a little bit more, to give that defense a little bit of a break so that the wingbacks could necessarily get going in that situation.
However, San Diego Loyo, I think they did a decent job trying to choke the transition by the Toros. I know multiple times within the first half, they caused the Toros to turn that ball over almost in three quarters of, on their own side of the field. And they had many opportunities in those kind of, breakaways, but they just weren't able to capitalize on them. Whether Tyler Derrick got to that ball first or their shots were really wide, that's what troubles me as well from the Toros, is how well can they do with a team that plays high pressure against them. You have to remember San Antonio plays like that too. And that might be a key for San Antonio in my eyes. But we'll talk about that once we talk about the San Antonio match and Harry comes on the show. I think another observation, and you guys in the chat, Jacob and Ray, let me know if you guys agree with this or not. So remember how last week we talked about that San Diego against Phoenix Rising looked very vulnerable when it came to shots from outside the box because of their coverage? Well, San Diego looked a little bit better in that regard, but I still would have loved to see some more shots from outside the box from the Toros. It seemed like all the opportunities they wanted to go from the wings and cross it over towards Amo. The only time, and that was probably minute 38? Yeah. The only person that tried to shot from outside the box, and he made Trey Muse work for that save, was Eric Pimentel. Yeah. And I felt that maybe they could have something more there. Maybe that's just not Wilmer's style, But then again, that also has to do a lot with how rigid or how flexible your attacking variants are. And so if you're seeing that right now, crosses really aren't that great, well, you need to try something else, especially when you have, proof in their last game that San Diego struggled with those crosses or with those passes, that those backwards diagonals towards the outside of the box and take the shot right then and there. That was my observation. I think that was one of the biggest things that I kind of talked about on my personal Twitter while the game was happening, especially during halftime. But I don't know what you guys saw, so let me know. Ray?
That's, I from the vantage point where I had, it kind of seemed like the Toros, I guess they were held a little bit more from attacking more from the wings. And I think San Diego took away the outside chances in order to force RGV to play a little bit more direct, more frontal, more forward. That's kind of like a little bit of the takeaway I took from this. And I just kind of feel like I guess the Toros, I kind of have to do a little bit more, have to attack using different variations. What do I mean? Okay, if your first attack is gonna be through the wings, don't repeat the same process. If you're gonna attack again, go direct. Kind of switch it up a little bit, because if you're just gonna be playing the cross into the centers and stuff like that, you're gonna become a little too predictable. That's where I think the Toros offense needs to change just a little bit for this week, I think.
Jacob?
Well, yeah. And I think this also goes back to even past years as well for me, for RGVFC. I definitely agree with you, Ray and Edson. As in, RGVFC, they would play a lot in the wings. We still aren't necessarily seeing the crosses being perfect, which is fine. But like you said, Edson, Pimentel made him work with that shot from outside the box. Even last year when RGVFC would shoot from outside the box, yes, some of them went over, but when there was a goal, it's because they took it outside the box and it might have gotten a deflection in the back of the net. That's why you take those shots sometimes, especially in the 35th minute, especially early in the game when it's still 0-0 and you have a chance to turn the tide for the start of the game and make the opposition work harder. So, I mean, it is one of those things I still, would like to see that for sure from RGVFC, just trying a little bit further, a couple more shots from outside the box just to make a team work like that. But it's tough.
But this is where a player like Wang Kuzain has to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it on Twitter. Wang Kuzain is a ghost. He doesn't stand out. He doesn't stand out in this match, in the matches. Against New Mexico, he was mentioned because of that free kick that he almost scored. In this match against San Diego, in the second half, that yellow card that shouldn't have been a yellow card for him, should have been a foul against San Diego, not against Wang Kuzain. But other than that, I mean, pardon me, I'm probably looking at it through the fan point of view, and not necessarily an analytical point of view. But the fact that he doesn't stand out, especially when it comes to generating on the attack, is worrying for a player that was lauded for his ability to create plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so one of the biggest things that I have about Wang Kuzain is, okay, they give Sorto the ball. Okay, you're right behind him. You need to go and give Cerritos. You need to give Cerritos an avenue where he can pass the ball, because he's going to get two players going to mark him when he goes over to that corner of the field. But no, he just stays there. Carter Manley has to go up and try to be that avenue, but he also has to be cautious not to give so much space behind him on the breakaway, so he can't go as high up the pitch to help out Alexis Cerritos with that avenue. That's where Wang Kuzain needs to go, and I don't see that from him. I don't see Wang Kuzain shooting from outside the box. I don't see it from him. So if the Toros, at least in my eyes, if the Toros want to improve on that, then Wang Kuzain has to be the primary player to not just hide behind the defenders, but stand up and say, hey, I'm here to help out, and I'm going to try to make a difference in give a little bit of variance on the RGV attack. Or I'm going to take the initiative to go and help you out because you've got two players coming at you and your angles are being shot down, or are being closed down by the defenders. I'm going to give you an avenue so we can continue to have possession, but give Cerritos a little bit of breather. We know Cerritos can probably give the ball back and try to maneuver around the defenders to try to find some open space after he gets rid of the ball. But if nobody helps him, he's going to get choked out by the byline, and 9 times out of 10, he's going to get that ball taken away from him. So that's where I need to see some improvement. We see Rodrigo Lopez do it. Why can't Wang Kuzain? And I mean, Rodrigo had more. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think Rodrigo had more shots from outside the box in this game against San Diego than Wang Kuzain did. So Code Austin says, only saw the first game, but I did notice they preferred to pass it to the right wing instead of shooting. Sometimes I did see that. There was one play, I'm not sure if it was against New Mexico or if it was this one against San Diego. But there was a play where Elvis had the opportunity to shoot, and he decides to give it to Cerritos, and Cerritos gets the shot, but it goes wide. I mean, he was clear, so I got to give him that to Elvis to give the ball over to Alexis Cerritos, and Alexis probably should have gotten that goal, But that's just me being picky. But there are multiple opportunities, and Code Awesome mentions it. A good observation by Code Awesome. There were many times, not just in this match, but in the game before, where I felt they could have been a little bit more selfish and taken the shot rather than shoot the ball, or rather than pass the ball to their teammates.
That even goes back to high school sports too, where you see that a lot. They just give the extra pass. And yeah, you'll learn that, of course, as time goes, but a lot of these guys, they're veterans. They're veterans of the game, so they should know that too, to be more selfish, not necessarily just give the ball constantly to your to your teammate. It is true. There's just little things like that is being picky, but at the same time, guess what? Being picky, that makes your team better. That makes your team a whole lot better, considering, yes, you have SAFC. We don't know how they're going to play against RGVFC till we play against them. Austin Bold, same deal. Colorado Springs, switchbacks. I mean, the list goes on for the games that RGVFC have to play this year. So, yeah, it's just going to be one of those situations that RGVFC, it's going to be still a learning process for this year at least. And for those things to be picked up on early and to be just kind of coached better by Wilmer, that's going to be a plus. This is where Wilmer starts to make the big bucks, is how he improves this team from here on with those little mistakes like that, especially on the offensive side.
Quick reminder, guys, if you ever like this show, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to share it with all your friends. Let's expand this community, this Taurus community. We're here all to talk about soccer. And I saw another, but Ray, before I go back to the chat, because I saw a really good observation right now by Sloth as well. But Ray, you're more of an analytical person. You know more about USL in its depths compared to us, who, or at least with me personally, who views it more as a fan rather than an analytical point of view. Am I wrong by talking about Wankuzane like I am? Am I exaggerating? Or is that what you're seeing as well?
I'll give you the benefit on the doubt on this, only because I just kind of feel like the adaptability of Wankuzane and playing that 4-4-3 press system that Wilmer's trying to fulfill is kind of like affecting the way he kind of plays now. If the Toros revert to a 4-4-2 diamond midfield, I think that's where you could see a little bit more explosiveness, more creativeness from Wankuzane if you slot him into that left side of the diamond.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of think of it. Because the 4-4-3, it just doesn't give you much room to do creative attacks. At this point, you have your line of four, then you got three. Okay, you've got three. You've got Wankuzane, Rodrigo, and perhaps JDC Juan David Cabezas, and then you've got your three attackers, which is Sorto, Cerritos, and Amo. And keep this in mind: the Toros aren't fully complete yet. So I think this may take another 6 weeks till the full squad is like fully practicing and have a full selection of forwards and what we've got. Because just remember that Elvis Amo wasn't the regular guy with Loudoun United. Cerritos wasn't the regular Flair.
He had only 27 minutes with Orange County.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe no more than 35 minutes overall in USL experience. And now he's got like 100 and close to 100 minutes or over 100 minutes now in with the Toros. So I fully think that this team right now it's winning with what it's got at this point, but we may not see the full potential of this team until the midway part of the season. I mean, right now it's winning because not everyone has like a full scouting book on what the Toros' tendencies are. Just wait till like the full assembly to your Juan Carlos Azócars come in, your Kyle Edwards come in, and the John Henry Sanchez's of the world come in. Because I honestly want to believe that these front three forwards aren't going to be our regular starters 2 months from now.
Yeah.
I truly don't believe this is going to be our set lineup for a little while. I mean, right now it's going to be our temporary lineup till I guess we get everyone into shape. But I'm just more interested to know, will Wilmer utilize the academy team to get some of these senior players some actual game minutes now that there's some allowment for the USL teams to use their academy teams to get 3 over 18 players into academy teams just to get them game minutes. That's just going to be, I guess, my biggest riddle for this RGVFC squad team. Will they use the academy to develop those 3 senior players to get them game minutes? That's just the riddle I have.
Yeah, and I can tell you one thing about the academy right now. It's in shambles for RGVFC. Sad to say, because apparently, like you got now with that high school, it has not helped anything. The high school academy technically can't even play on the practice fields anymore for their games. They have to play on these crappy fields right behind that high school, which is just, I mean, you could see it out in the distance near the stadium. So that's one downfall. I think they're still going to have, the under 18 team, but I think that's about it right now. I'm not even kidding. If they're playing with that high school team. And that's like the U8 or, like U17s or whatever. That's one thing.
Yeah, because apparently the USL, whatever academy team you may have, whether it's U17 or U19s, you're allowed to send 3 of your senior players down to get development minutes. And I'm just very interested in.
Might be something to ask.
We're going to use that.
Might be something to ask Wilmer Cabrera tomorrow then.
Might be.
Who's going to dip their toes in the waters?
Definitely not me.
You know what? I'll try. Why not? Let's go for it. I'll be there tomorrow as long as.
All right. He's gonna be Jacob's gonna be your cannon fodder. He's gonna be your cannon fodder.
I don't care.
El toro y la luna bailando de nuevo.
We know the comments I had before he got hired, so.
El toro y la luna bailando de nuevo, Edson.
Blame Edson, blame me. Oh well.
So
but I will say this much. At least that other show doesn't have the courage to even show up. So,
boom.
So
let's take a look a little bit at the comments, because like I did mention, there was one that kind of caught my eye, and this was from Sloth. He says, the cut inside move was also being used way too much, where the wingers could have just shot instead of looking for a cross. Yeah. He's right.
Getting the number of crosses down is going to be key.
But see, I'm looking at the stats right now. All right. So the Toros had 11 shots compared to 7. Both of them had 3 shots on target. The Toros had 4 shots blocked. And then, okay. Well, this completely dispels my theory then. Because according to the stats, the Toros shot 6 times from outside the box. Out of those 11 shots, 6 of them. So it just didn't feel that way, though.
It needs to be 11 more than 6, and then I think we'll feel it. It needs to be double digits. I think that's the only way that we're going to feel like that was enough.
But I think the fact is, I think it was because of the shots on target that it was so low. Well, I guess you can say. Well, I mean, it's 3 out of 11. I think that's why I kind of made it like, wow, it didn't really cause much damage, So they did have more shots outside the box, or at least they tried there, looking at the actual stats, at least from the ones from the USL. So that's good at least. So never mind what it said, like I said, don't worry about me. Shots inside the box, 5. San Diego was the one that kind of like, that they were the ones that were kind of spamming, trying to go inside the box. Out of the 7 shots, 6 of them were inside the box. So, shooting accuracy, 27.3% by the Toros. That's a low number. And then if we go into distribution, passing accuracy was actually pretty good at 82.9%. 72.3% of that was in the opponent, or 72.3% passing accuracy in the opponent's half. So I think those are decent numbers. 31.3% crossing accuracy. On the defense, 21 tackles by the Toros compared to 16. 76.2% tackle success rate compared to 87.5% from San Diego Loyal. 12 clearances compared to 15 by San Diego Loyal. So looking at this analysis, what is your overall analysis of the game?
Overall analysis of the game. I mean, it's one of those games where I think really just RGVFC ended up getting lucky. It could have been a 0-0 draw in the end.
Or we could have lost. I definitely think that we could have lost.
That too. And speaking about that, I mean, Tyler Derrick did a little too much. As a player, as a fan, as even media, you don't really, just as a fan, you don't want to see that happen where your goalkeeper saves more than 3 or close to 5 goals. So he
technically had 3 saves.
He just had 3 saves.
Yeah.
Well,
but it seemed like he was very active though.
Exactly. Technically, right now with that whole Jumbo Jack deal going on, you don't want to see him have 3 saves. You don't want to see the defense slip up that much. You will almost want to see him have 0 saves like the New Mexico United game. So it's just that situation that you want to see RGVFC have more possession and less pressure on the defensive side to really make things feel and make things gel. But of course, with that comes you have to score, because if you have all that possession, one slip up, it's in the back of the net for the other team and you lose that game instead. We've all heard that well by, I believe, another head coach, but we've heard it well by every head coach too. It's just that situation you don't want to have, or you want to have possession, but you need to make sure to score and cash that in. So yeah, it's one of those situations that was a little mediocre. RGVFC could have lost. Luckily, they didn't. We want to see a little bit more improvement.
But
we got 3 points.
But that goes to show the importance of having a keeper like Tyler Derrick, not like.
Well, yeah, but even Tyler Derrick's human, and he might slip up one game.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. You can't rely heavily on. Okay, if I slip up, well, I have my keeper. Well, what happens if your keeper's on an off day and your defensive lineup is on an off day? And you start getting scored on, Yeah. So the defense, it's good to have a keeper that you can rely on when you slip up, but don't kind of like lose your concentration constantly, or don't let your guard down just because, I have a good keeper that's been saving my butt in these games. Because if he has a bad game, then the other team's going to score and we're probably going to lose.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's good to have, this is the importance, and we've talked about it many times, the importance of having somebody that is experienced in that spine of the lineup, But I do have to say, though, if I'm not mistaken, most of the clear opportunities that San Diego had were from Carter Manley's side. And I'm saying it and I'll say it again. I am not 100% convinced about Carter Manley as a right back. Center back, I really don't have a lot of questions. As a right back, very iffy. But it could also be because Carter Manley tends to want to go and help out on the attack.
Yeah.
You know? So it's one of those things you gain on the offense, but you kind of lose a little bit on the defense. But like I said, it seemed like those clear opportunities, they beat him from behind.
Yeah.
And you know, clear one-on-ones with the keeper. Thankfully, Tyler Derrick was able to get the saves. And then right at the end, Arturo Dispe on that final play, you know, was able to get that clearance with his head off to a corner. What could have been, I think, in any other play, like 9 times out of 10, that would have been a goal. Against RGVFC. Mm-hmm. But Arturo Dispe had the correct timing to intercept to get to that ball before it crossed. It got towards goal. So that's, like I said, experience has been key in these last couple of games. And then you've got Vicente Sanchez, you know, scoring that goal with, what was it, the 87th minute, if I'm not mistaken, where he scored the goal. Somebody mentioned it in the chat, and he's pretty right. He says, Santos, he says, and the Sanchez veteran savvy to find an open space and be prepared for the cross. That's experience. You know, he might not necessarily be the fastest player out there, but he's got the experience. He's got the soccer knowledge to know where to be at, to not only find himself an open avenue, to help his team have some sort of attacking opportunity, but also, and you saw it right as soon as we came in, he knew how to position himself, how to guard the ball, to give his teammates the opportunity to help him out on the attack. That shot by Rodrigo Lopez from outside the box that went wide, you saw that Vicente Sanchez, like, he knew what he was doing, trying to find Sorto, you know, but the plan didn't go as well as he thought, you know. But he found that. He found that space. He tried to build up that opportunity. And that's what the experience of having Vicente Sanchez on the field does to you. I think as this team gels on, it continues to gel in this season, I think we're going to see some better things. And as Ray said, as we start getting the actual starters on this team, we might have a better idea on what Tours 2.0 is going to look like, especially once the other teams get a general idea on how to what to expect from RGVFC in this 2021 season. But I think at the end of the day, what matters is getting the 3 points. The Toros end up doing it. We're 6 out of 6. It's our best franchise start in the history of this team. And now we're going up against our bitter rival, San Antonio FC. So Harry, if you're listening, make your way over here into the Zoom chat. We got some words to talk, buddy.
Yeah, we might not be too nice though, but oh well.
But while Harry gets on the Zoom chat, as I mentioned before we started the show, Ray was on Harry's show, the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, to talk about the South Texas Derby. How did that go? What did you all talk about with him?
Well, we talked about the possibilities of how the match can really swing one way or another. And one of the key players I highlighted for San Antonio FC was Marcus Epps, a wily veteran of the USL Championship, spent many years with Portland Timbers 2, and how the matchup and how he can affect the matchup for Sunday night, as Sunday night soccer rolls around. Harry, hello, I see you. Let's not play some peekaboo now.
How's it going, Harry?
Doing well.
Welcome.
How are you guys?
Doing well. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So we're asking Ray about kind of the stuff that he talked about on your show on the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. How was that experience having Ray on?
Oh, it was good. I think Ray and Royce had a pretty good discussion about the tactical side of it. Where San Antonio does the high pressing, very similar to what RGV does, but I think in a little bit different way. And they, kind of talked about, the different adjustments that RGV may make, and also kind of different adjustments that San Antonio may make with the pressure from RGV. Because let's be honest, this is going to be a fun game, I think on both sides.
I would not be surprised if I see a very entertaining 0-0 draw, to be honest.
Oh, I think there'll be scoring.
I think so too, but don't be surprised if it ends 0-0 because, like I mentioned, RGVFC is going to live off the transition offense. And what I mean by transition offense is that they may not send crosses inside the box all the time, but they're going to have to adjust to attack a little bit more directly and not depend on those outside balls to get them swinged inside. And that's one of the things I was mentioning with Edson and Jacob right now, is that they're going to have to adjust that transitional game. Right now, RGVFC isn't at full strength, and neither is San Antonio, which can be a nice little recipe for either a high scoring draw or a scoreless draw. Pick your poison. That's the way I kind of see this game right now.
I think it'll be interesting. I think so. If we break down I think RGV's clear advantage is the goalkeeper. Matt Cardoni's good, but he's not MLS good like Tyler Derrick is along those lines here. So, and Tyler did a great job, the last game against San Diego. And the defense is much better. And I know Ray mentioned last game, and even you guys have mentioned so far in the show, where not everybody's in its right spot yet. So I know San Antonio has been dealing with some injuries. Their two of their center backs are down already with injuries. They signed, who'd they get on loan today? They signed somebody from Argentina on loan who has, if you looked at transfer market, Joaquin Varela on loan from San Martin de Cucaman or something like that here. My Spanish isn't as good as Edson's for obvious reasons.
Yeah, San Martin de Tucumán. They're probably a second division team who I want to send a big shout out to Federico Di Michelis of Todo Dynamo. He should know all the aspects of the Argentine league. That guy's a walking encyclopedia about Argentine soccer.
Joaquin has experience in the first division, though, in Argentina now.
Yeah,
I'm not an expert to say how that compares or doesn't compare to USL Championship. I know his transfer market value, take it for what it is 5.25. And so to me, he's 24, he's 6'2", so he fits that mold that Coach Marcina likes, with the back line, being tall, being physical. So it'll be interesting. I almost think that he will play because they've been playing PC out of position, as a right back, left back. So if they can put him back in the middle, I think that'll definitely kind of help against RGV. And the one good thing is, we got pushed around in a real physical match against not RGV, but against Real Monarch. So they're already battle tested for the physicality that's going to be coming down in HEB Park. So it should, it'll be interesting.
And and I'll get your thoughts on that particular match, because I am going to be putting on the stream and we'll be analyzing the whatchamacallit, the highlights of that match between San Antonio and Real Monarchs. But I want to get your thoughts. So first, I want to get your thoughts on San Antonio FC overall. You know, you talked about having to get a new defender because of injuries, and now you've got a red card to deal with from this past man. And so, first question is: did they even protest that particular red card?
I don't think they could, because once you actually looked at it, you know, I talked to Landon Southwick reached out to me, and he's like, why would you think that it is? And I hadn't seen the replay of it yet, but just, you know, being there, looking at it, yes, I was looking more from the waist up, you know, because they were hand fighting, you know, shoulders, and, you know, he did go down, but if you look at the replay, Nathan actually kicks out, and that's that, you know, you could argue if it's a red or not, but, you know, it's definitely cardable. And, you know, if you put yourself in that position, you know, with the refs, you know, it's, you know, she made the call, and, you know, I'm not an AR, you know, I thought it was kind of soft, but it was out of bounds. It was, you know, Nathan didn't put up much of objection either. You know, so he you know, I don't think there was an intent to injure or anything, but, you know, you know, it was probably a little bit more out of frustration, you know, just with the physicality that going back and forth, and the ref had been letting them play up to that point. And, you know, that's, you know, the AR stepped in and said, you know, and to be fair, you know, hindsight, I doubt he gets it overturned just because he did kick out. There's, you know, you do it and it got called, and, you know, there's not much that you can say. You know, I was looking more at the, you know, up the top where, because he had his arm out as well, where it almost looked like he pushed.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually push. It was more on the foot. And then, you know, so, you know, it's Monday morning before you see it, and, you know, it is what it is.
So one of the observations that I do want to mention about, you know, the signing, and you mentioned the fact that you don't know if Marcina's going to play him or not against RGV.
Oh, I think he plays.
Well, here's the thing, though. I feel like that, I don't know when he arrived to the team or when he started practice.
He's already been here.
But I still think that is going to hurt the chemistry in that back line because he's so new to this team. And I have a feeling that could be a weak spot in the San Antonio defense, you know. So that, I think that's just my quick analysis about that. But I want to hear your thoughts about your San Antonio side overall in these last two matches. Like, what have you seen from them? What do you think are their strengths? What do you think are their weaknesses so far?
So first game against Colorado Springs, they got on them. You know, they pressed them. You know, Colorado Springs had a tough time with it. Each game, San Antonio's averaged about 40% of the possession. The passing that they have is low. You know, as far as, you look at the percentages, it's lower than what it probably should be. So, you know, they're still not connecting. I think the big difference for San Antonio, and the reason why they're so, you know, in my opinion, so good to watch, is number one, they're young. They're probably, you know, last I checked, they were one of the youngest independent teams. They're younger than RGV, which is not something that you could say before. A lot of MLS experience and a lot of professional experience, with that here. Santiago Patino is a horse up front. And, you know, he had the hat trick the first week, and last week he busted his ass. He didn't get rewarded or anything like that, but, you know, he was, you know, he's one of those that'll play both ways. You know, he'll come back and, you know, on the defensive side, make a difference, which is what Coach Marcina wants. So I think for the team overall, it's been a successful start. And I say that even with dropping, you know, last week's game. You know, like I said here, that red card kind of changed everything. Prior to that red card, San Antonio was in total control of that game. The red card changed it. They did get the goal the second half, or probably right before the second half or halftime, and then they came out and credit to Real Monarchs, Charlie Adams. They came out that first 10 minutes, got it equalized, and by the time San Antonio could get their legs back under them and see the adjustments that Real Monarchs had done, and towards the end, number one, there was Real Monarchs got Garcia sent off with his second yellow, so it was 10-on-10. But at the death, Suelo hit the crossbar, so it could have been very easily 3-2, how the game could have ended. So it's one of those games where and I know as a San Antonio fan, when you get up 2-0, you're like, oh, that's the worst score that San Antonio could ever have. History shows they do not do well when they're up 2-0.
You ain't lying.
But this one was different, though. It was, because they went down a man, in the 30th, 31st minute. So they played 60 minutes down a man and still held their own. The Real Monarchs came out, at the half and kind of had SAFC, on their back foot, and they got the 2 goals, and at that point you're thinking, hey, this could slip away, but it's they got a hard-earned point on it. I know you want 3 points at home, 1 on the road, but sometimes when you get calls that go against you, and it's and I know you guys have seen this, it seemed like all the 50-50 balls, 50-50 calls didn't go San Antonio's way that game. And it's just Real Monarchs, they're young, and that was their first game, and they were a lot better than what I think San Antonio thought going in. Do I think San Antonio maybe took them a little bit light just because of how young they were, how they started? Because when they first started, they were all out of sync, couldn't even connect to any passes or anything along those lines. But that's why you play the game, and you got a point away on one that you're could it was a fair point. San Antonio could have, should have won, and yet they could have, should have lost just as easily. So
Jacob, Ray, any questions to Harry before we jump into the highlights from their match?
Yeah, just real quick, Harry. A familiar face that San Antonio fans were familiarized with, Kyle Adams. I thought he had a pretty decent showing out there.
Oh, he was a beast
for being a new signing for them. But I just gotta ask, Monarchs had their first game, and on the road, how do you just see them just doing in the season overall?
I think Monarchs are going to be better than they were last year. I think they're a young team, so I think you're going to have some games where they show up and some games where they don't. But I also think this wasn't their best team either. Knowing a couple of Real Monarch fans, there were a couple of people that were missing. And then, of course, when you go play up in Salt Lake, you can expect some, friendly loans down from Real Salt Lake, most likely for here. So do I think they're going to be the pushover team that I thought maybe coming in? I don't think so, because I do think that they have some talent. I do kind of question having a 16-year-old as the starting goalie, which is what he was. And, he didn't look 16. We'll just leave it at that, 14-ish, 15-ish. He looked
Ouch.
young, but he got the job done, so hats off to the Monarchs, and they stood toe to toe with San Antonio, and did they get benefit from kind of a weak card, weak red possibly? Sure, but that's there's going to be games where we all go down on a questionable call, and it's and as Coach Marcina says, it's it's how you adjust to it, because it's going to happen in a 32 game series or season.
So let's take a look at the highlights from San Antonio, from the San Antonio's match. And I believe this is from the 19th minute. I believe this is where San Antonio scores his first goal.
Oops.
by Epps. And one of the things that I think that catches my eye from here in this play is how easy the San Antonio, or forgive me, how easy Real Monarchs leave spaces out on the wings. Look where everybody is at, guys. Oop, hold on. Come on. Give me the... Why aren't you giving... Come on, pen. Okay. Is that working now? Oh, don't do this to me. Come on. Anyway.
It doesn't like San Antonio. Come on.
Anyway, the point is, look at that space. Look where everybody is from the Real Monarchs defense. They are all bunched up in the middle. They're all bunched up in the middle, and they're leaving Epps a lot of space in front of the goalkeeper. Like, there's nobody that's paying attention to what Epps is doing, and he just slots it past the keeper very easily. And this was just already in the 19th minute. And then we look forward again. By the way, that's a good pass by Lindley, in between two defenders. And then this is the 29th minute. I believe this is where they score. This is the red card.
Yeah,
this is the red card right here. I see. This is where, I do see where he kicks
right
the Real Monarch. Yeah, he kicks the Real Monarchs player when after he passes by, and I think the rule says, give or intend to give, and that was a kick that was uncalled for since the play ended.
Yeah,
So,
if that would have been in play, probably would have been a yellow, but because it was outside the lines, the ref made the decision on the red. It's, illusion.
and then this is the second goal. This was in the 43rd minute, and it's another one of those goal games, or another one of those plays where they leave so much space. They're leaving so much space in the box. If you notice, right before that final pass, number 10, look at all that space in front of him. There's 6 players technically around that area compared to 3 San Antonio players. But look at all that space from the penalty spot outside. There's so much space, and from then on, like, you wanted the ball from Epps, but Epps decided to go for the shot himself, and on the
rebound, it bounces off,
and so but even on the rebound, number 10 had so much space to just go up at it and take that shot. And so I think right then and there you're seeing how inexperienced the Real Monarchs looked in that first half. And then you go into the second half. Harry, what went wrong in the second half? And as we're looking into this their first goal,
they fell asleep, man. It's one of those where the ball passes three SAFC players, and
yes,
it happens to. It was a good pass, but it's one of those where, I think when coach looks at it, they should have had marked better. It should have been closed up. And once again, on a rebound and in the second goal, rebound, and the guy slotted it home. But it's, to me, with San Antonio, it's those little lapses. And I think they're getting smaller. And that one you kind of argue maybe a little bit unlucky, because PC heads it out, and the Real Monarchs player intercepts it and shoots it right away as a through there. So it was a good goal. Could you have not cleared it down the middle? Sure, but it's just, I think for San Antonio, that first 10 minutes out of the half, they just they didn't come out well. That's the only thing you can say. Real Monarchs made them pay, and if they do that down in HEB Park, I'm pretty sure RGV is going to make them pay as well.
So now switching the focus to RGVFC, as a San Antonio fan that does watch or at least is well aware of what RGVFC has been doing in their first 2 weeks, what are your thoughts on RGV as they prepare to take on your team this week?
I think RGV, and I discussed this with you. I thought they were going to battle for that fourth or fifth slot. Could you argue maybe they've got a little bit lucky? Against San Diego, sure. I think even you mentioned earlier here where, San Diego was probably a little bit unlucky to get it, not get a goal in. And then, of course, the Sanchez goal in the 80 something minute,
87.
87th minute. And he was open, he was unmarked and was able to bury it. So, San Diego, lapsed once and paid for it. So, but this is not, this is not RGV of a year ago or 2 years or even 3 years ago. This is a much improved RGV team that will go toe to toe and they're not young, they're experienced. They've got talent this year, which I think last couple of years you could argue was the talent up to USL's championship standards. This year they definitely are, and Mr. Ron Patel's and Wilmer's done a great job of putting together a team.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Mr. Snuggles wanted to hop on.
We always welcome cats on this show. Don't worry about that.
My co-host.
So, from the squad, which player catches your eye from the Toros?
There's a couple of them. To me, Rodrigo Lopez, and I told Ray this on our show here. He's that missing piece that RGV's needed. That experience in the midfield that can kind of captain the team on the pitch. When things may be falling apart, he's got the experience to be able to step up. And obviously, Derek, in the goal, especially from last year, one of your biggest frustrations where you had a goalie that would make the impossible stops, but then let in the easy goal. This year, will Derek, maybe mess up once? Sure. Every goalkeeper does, but, on a consistent day-to-day base, you have confidence that, he's going to know where he needs to be. He's going to be able to direct the back line where they need to be. And so to me that, those two right there are huge pieces, for me, especially Rodrigo Lopez, I think he is the key of RGV this year, having that leadership, having that experience, and especially with Kuzane on the other side, where earlier in the conversation you guys were kind of critiquing him a little bit, and I wonder if it's maybe him just kind of filling out where he actually fits, because before he was with Sporting Kansas City,
yes,
previously. So to me it's I think for him it's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment where Rodrigo's obviously, got the experience, and there's not a lot that gets by that guy. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. I think the fact that he gets props from USL Tactics kind of goes to show how good Rodrigo Lopez stands out in the matches, both offensively and defensively.
But if you guys had him last year, I think I'm not saying you guys would be a playoff team, but you would have more wins than what you had last year, because Correct. You just, to me, that leadership on the field, and you and I have discussed this several times, that RGV never had that. And now you've got that leadership to where, hey, if you've got a young player that's maybe not, having the best game, he can still, keep him in line to where, maybe those lapses that RGV used to have, I'm not saying you won't still have them, but they'll be a lot more minimized with him on the pitch.
Correct. Ray, Jacob, anything from me?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on this one, Harry. I mean, like I mentioned on your show, I just feel like the key showdown here for this match, for me, it's got to be Marcus Epps versus Juan David Cabezas. You got one guy who likes to set the tone in the midfield, and you've got the other guy in JDC, Juan David, who likes to destroy the attack in the midfield, stopping the possibilities. I think that for me might be the one-on-one matchup to see upon and relish on to see who gets the best out of who.
Harry, you're muted.
Yeah, Epps is a good call. To me, the mystery is who comes in for Nathan. With him, obviously, we're assuming he's going to be suspended for the game. Who comes in for him? They have Dylan, who came from the Sounders organization, but he's been injured. So if he comes back, he's actually the starter. For that here. So if he comes back, I think no change. But if it's not him, and let's say they bring in one of the youngsters, drawing a blank on him. Right, what's his name? Come on, page, load up.
So right off the bat, we've already
Ollie
got
Wright. Ollie Wright.
Ollie
If
Wright.
it's Ollie Wright, he's a guy from England. Went to college here in San Antonio. Played for Corpus Christi in League USL League Two. Made his first appearance, the first game, and came on, late. He came on late both games. If he comes on, he's kind of an attacking wing player, but he's got lots of speed. But he's real young and raw. But you can see the potential there. So, to me, if you could balance him on the other side with Epps there, that might be something a little bit more, through there. Plus, with Jose Gallegos, he's been reported out with a lower leg injury, but he's also been sniffing it over in Europe with, a trial with Bayern Munich and Barcelona. So he's had a 2-week or so trial over with them. So we don't know if he's actually going to play this year with SAFC, just for the fact that, if he's got offers, does he want to take the risk of getting injured for that here, or will he just be the lower leg injury? So he was in a picture today with the new defender. So maybe that, kind of gives us a little bit, hopefully him on the pitch would be very interesting, because I think him up front with Patino would be very interesting to see, especially with his, ball creativity skills with, Suelo's skills there that came over from the Galaxy and had that second goal from there. So
I want to ask you, just because I'm curious, how much does San Antonio miss having Christian Parana?
I don't think that they miss him a lot, to be honest with you. If you look at what Emil Suelo's brought to the team, he's filled that role fairly well. Now, Parano's a special player, don't get me wrong. And last year he was hurt. But last year, teams started to focus on him and kind of took him out of the game. That's what New Mexico did in the playoff game. They took him out. They took him out of the game. I think this is a much deeper team, a lot more versatile team. And like I said here, I think would we love to have Parano back? Sure, but I think with the new roster, like I said here, I think, I don't think the team's really missing him. Now they play a little bit different as well. They play a lot more direct, a lot more over the top, where they try to, get it to Patino, from the back. We'll try to boom it down and try to definitely get it through there, as opposed to trying to work it up through, through the pitch. So, to me, that's going to be a little bit more interesting of the chess match to see, how that actually works against RGV, because you guys press, we press. It's going to be about, ball control, who can commit the least amount of mistakes.
Jacob?
I definitely agree on that for sure.
So, well, I have a question here for Jacob since he mentioned it. Why, is there? Do you know why the reason was the game was moved? Because I can tell you, as a San Antonio fan, I'm not happy about it, and I give RGV grief, but it wouldn't shock me if SAFC was behind that. If that's what you're gonna say.
Oh no, I was going to say basically. Well, I mean, it happens to be that HEB Park is a multi-facility, meaning,
Yes.
of course, you can host events there. And sure enough, there's going to be an event hosted on Saturday. It is the dumbest thing. That is the whole reason why RGVFC had to play Thursday instead of Saturday last week, was due to the all-star event for soccer from 4A to about 6A. That was the reason, though, for not playing on Saturday.
No, because you have to remember that the games of the week are Thursdays, and the San Diego
game of the week? Because it was
San
only on
Diego
Deportes.
San Diego and RGV, that game was considered game of the week. That's why all of the teams promoted that game the last couple of days.
ESPN Deportes because of the huge Hispanic population for both sides. So,
but like, my side note for that, Deportes is on no major TV company. Like, as in, you have to buy it separate. It's weird. Like, it doesn't come with YouTube TV. Like, you can't even buy it on a premium sports package. That's my point. It's dumb. Deportes is kind of like its own little thing, and you can't find it anywhere. It's not even on DirecTV. That's my point. It's not on DirecTV.
This is the reason why.
To me, the thing that upsets me is it's both RGV matches and San Antonio matches that got moved to Sunday, which
so
makes it hard as a traveling fan. So
yeah, and I get it. I mean,
but you guys need all the help you can get. Just throw the first barb out there.
Seems legit, but yeah, the reason is because Thursday or Friday and Saturday, Banda MS, a Mexican band, is going to be performing at HEB Park, and that's the reason why for this game it was moved to Sunday. That's the explanation. There is no hiding. There is no special thing. There's no conspiracy. It's just a simple concert that takes precedence over the stadium. It shouldn't be, but that's the way it is in show business.
Hey,
I guess you can leave it at that.
You got to sell the seats. It's a business. I completely understand.
Especially right now, where this is pretty much going to sustain the stadium with the limited attendances due to COVID.
So
should be 75, 100%. Just saying.
I don't disagree with you. Other areas are opening up as well. But here's my question back to you guys. You haven't allowed a goal, but you've only scored one goal each game.
Okay.
How are you guys feeling about the team? Are you guys feeling? I know you got the wins at home, which is what's most important. And I know Ray's already kind of hinted at this, that this team is still a growing team. For that here. But what's your guys' overall impressions as you head into San Antonio FC? And I think it's going to be a very interesting game, especially from what I heard about the last preseason match, where we'll just say it wasn't a friendly is what I've heard. And I know San Antonio came out of it evidently with some injuries because, guys that started that game haven't been seen since then. So I know, just to kind of recap, the friendly, not that it matters, but San Antonio went in 2-0 at half, just like this week. And RGV got two set pieces, to equalize, especially I think one was right at the death, if memory serves me right. For that here to get a well-earned 2-2 draw. And I think, both coaches were, were happy to get out with what they had. But how are you guys feeling, overall? I know the record speaks for itself, but, I don't think you guys expect the team. I don't think you guys think the team is peaking at this point, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think for me, my overly simplified analysis of this team so far is it speaks volumes when the player that pretty much kickstarts the offense is a 41-year-old Vicente Sanchez. If you have to rely on a 41-year-old to get you decent opportunities on gold, then there's a problem, I think. Then again, I am oversimplifying things, but that just it stands out. If you notice, both goals that RGV scored were with Vicente Sanchez on the field.
No, you're not wrong. That is scary. Now, I will say this though, especially to Harry. I mean, he mentioned it a bit. Yes, RGVFC are more aggressive than I've ever seen them be. Really, of course, that's talking from New Mexico United. But if you think about it, when a team comes out as aggressive on paper as New Mexico United did, and I mean, when Phoenix Rising comes into play a long, long time from now for RGVFC, I think they're going to do that same thing. So I think it's kind of that mentality. Yes, Wilmer kind of touched up on it that I think they kind of need to calm down a little bit, and they were just nervous from that first game. But when it goes to a rivalry now, will they have that same type of mentality? That's a possibility. So I would not be shocked. I know this is predictions and all of that, but I wouldn't be shocked to see RGVFC be that team, as in getting a yellow and or somebody sent off from their side just being a little too aggressive there. So,
well, there's going to be cards this game. There's no question. It is, we've got players that we've got the PC watch on yellow count, from last year, to where if he doesn't get a yellow, it's a, hey, was he actually playing? Type of a player where he pushes that on there. I had a question here for here.
I do want to get Ray's thoughts right now about that.
You're on mute, Ray.
Thoughts on?
The attack, RGV's attack.
I'm gonna say this much, okay? Juan Carlos Azocar, I know he's training with the team. About him being at 100%, who knows? Then you got the Colombian forward, John Henry Sanchez, who's another question mark. And then you also got Kyle Edwards. That's also been, I have not seen practice these last few weeks.
So is there anything, because I know somebody in chat asked about what's going on with Kyle Edwards. I know there's the situation with what happened with St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the volcanoes. Could that be a factor?
That could very well be a factor, because let's remember, prior to joining RGVFC for their preseason, he had to play a couple of World Cup qualifying matches with this country. So there's that. And he's also being played a little bit out of position, because St. Vincent and the Grenadines uses a 3-5-2 formation, where he's the right man on the wide side of the 5-man midfield. So there's also that to consider as well. Like, he's playing right now out of position, where as he would with the Toros, he would be one of the front three. So it's kind of like a little bit of a change for him in that scenario if they continue playing the pressing 4-3-3 formation.
Mm-hmm. Harry, did you remember the question you wanted to ask us?
Yeah. My question was it actually had to do with Jacob's comment about the aggressiveness of RGV, and this might be something that you can answer. But that first season, RGV was very attacking, was very aggressive, very similar, at least in my opinion, from my recollection. Now, this is what, 5 years ago now. But that first year, RGV pressed a lot. They were a very attacking-minded team as well. And of course, Wilmer's back, so he brought back that style. Is that fair to say, or is it a little bit different than what it was at that time? Obviously, I didn't watch every game as close as you guys did, but from my experience, this is Wilmer's style of, especially with his history in RGV, is to be that attacking, that pressing, 90 minutes of hell basically. If you understand that.
I think, yeah. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I want to say this as well because I know you and I, Edson, followed not only the 2016 season very closely, but also when Wilmer moved to the Dynamo, and we could definitely say he brought that style of play into the Dynamo, where for that first glorious year of Houston, because yes, I was a fan in 2017 of them, so I can say this. It was amazing to see what Wilmer brought. And same thing with 2016. They were aggressive. We saw that type of play. And then, of course, the later years, Wilmer kind of lost the dressing room, but that's besides the point. And I think that aggressiveness at 90 minutes is perfect. And it feels like that same team. It feels like it from 2016. But of course, the later on 2016 portion where RGVFC actually won games and things like that, went on that close to 20 game win streak, if I'm not mistaken, and that 20 game or 19, 18 game shutout streak too. So there's a possibility of all of that to really be back, and just RGVFC have to play it smart from there. And Wilmer Cabrera, and we kind of even mentioned this too, Wilmer Cabrera, he's also added a little bit to his own game, where it seems like he can adapt a little bit to how the game goes. We did not see that when he coached MLS, and I don't necessarily think we saw that in 2016 either.
I think that's a good observation of how I think Wilmer has kind of matured a little bit and implemented what he's learned in the first division into the USL. However, I mean, we do have a very small sample size with just 2 games. But I think defensive wise in the first game, they looked really good. Like we mentioned earlier in this show, it was a little bit they struggled a little bit in this second game against San Diego Loyal. They looked a lot more vulnerable. But I do think that once they gel together, this is going to be this might probably be a playoff team. And this is more than I thought going into the season. So I guess we'll see what happens. But this game against San Antonio is going to be the game that proves that this team is the team that the fans have been waiting for. That team that's going to get us back into the playoffs. But can they keep that on the long term? I think maybe they can. I think once all the elements start coming in, they have enough depth to kind of handle this schedule. I think the fact that Rey, you mentioned it earlier, this show, that if some of these starters that we have aren't necessarily going to be these starters for Wilmer's team, and yet they've done well these past 2 games. I think it shows that we might actually have some talent even on the bench. And that's definitely more than we can say about the last couple of seasons with RGVFC. You mentioned we still got Azócar, who I think is a decent player. He showed that spark in the last 2 games for the 2020 season. He brought a different spark into the attack. But we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely looking forward to this match overall. So anyway, guys, we are now approaching our favorite part, and that is our predictions for this upcoming match. I know chat has been talking about it all these past couple of minutes in the chat, and I will be reading those in a little bit. But Harry, since you are the guest, I already know what you're gonna say, but
I put
what is your
3-1 in the
prediction?
chat. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think San Antonio is going to get up 2-0, just like they typically do. I think RGV is going to come back, get that goal. And I'm going to say Patino gets the brace and puts it away late for the hair after some close moments. We'll just say on San Antonio's part.
Jacob?
This is just a regular prediction, 3-3 draw, I think. I think that's fair to say. Both teams being able to score goals, a couple of players from both sides getting a brace, which just helps out the teams in general. I think that's kind of what we'll see. We'll see. Well, even for a regular prediction, I think things will get a little heated because it is a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
For me, I think we might have an entertaining scoreless draw. With RGV getting that last chance at the end, and I will go ahead and say Edson's favorite phrase. A ver si no pasa una tragedia.
Oh boy. Before I say mine, I do want to mention, Sloth, you're right. They are playing, the Banda Mesa is playing at Bird Ogden, but you have to remember a lot of the employees that work at HB Park, they also work at Bird Ogden. I know this because my sister used to work in concessions for both venues. Yeah. So their resources are gonna be focused on these concerts. So they probably weren't gonna have enough to do the concert and the game on Saturday, which is why they moved it on Sunday. But it's a good observation, Sloth. Thank you for the clarification. But it is still a valid excuse about that.
Yeah,
but
remember, people still don't want to work just yet. So that doesn't help.
Oh boy, let's not talk about that. This is soccer. This isn't politics.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm just talking about that doesn't help concessions, and that doesn't help people wanting to go to a game.
So, all right. So my prediction for this game, I'm going to go with 2-2 once again. I think that San Antonio has the firepower. I mean, we saw San Diego kind of exploit some of the weaknesses that this defensive line probably has at this moment. But unlike San Diego, I think that San Antonio has the firepower to actually take advantage of those opportunities. But I do think that San Antonio is going to let up, and like they always do against the Toros. But I think this time we have the experience, and I think we might have the firepower, especially with Vicente on, to get to score some goals.
Make it up and down the field, man.
On Matt Cardoni. So I think it's going to be a 2-2. I wish it was a 9 for 9. Get 3 straight wins, but I have to give respect to San Antonio. They are pretty much, they've been consistent these past couple of seasons, and so I respect them enough to give them their place in my prediction. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 for this match. And going into the chat, I did see Gilbert says 2-2 as well. 3-2 of the Stampede brings it. Are you putting some pressure on yourselves?
Hey, is he saying that the Stampede doesn't always bring it? I'm just calling that based on that statement, how I read it. Gilbert's saying that the Stampede doesn't always bring it. Santos, hey, you need to get on your boy. That's all I'm saying.
Bobby says 2-0 Toros. Mike says 3-1 RGV. And then Blues fan, by the way, Blues fan, welcome back, man. I have not seen you in a long time on our show. Welcome back to Down in the Valley, bro.
Blue is here. What is this show?
But he says, I'm going 0-0 with Derek balling out, with my reasons being citing Wilmer's track record in derby matches. Winky face.
Oh,
but his first derby match, let's be real, he won 5-0. That was against Dallas, but...
And then what happened?
Well, yeah, we're not... This is season 1. It's supposed to be the glory year. At least.
So you're saying that you're still afraid that Wilmer's going to lose it after season 1?
Wilmer might be a Jose Mourinho. Not saying he is, Of course, only time will tell. But he has the freedom to choose a lot of better players as
Oh,
well.
Blues
And
fan. Blues fan says that 5-0 was Owen Coyle. That was not Wilmer.
oh my gosh, it
That was
Well,
Owen Coyle.
look, I will
El
say this.
Innombrable.
Atlanta, you died.
I will say this much though. Wilmer in his first year as head coach in the inaugural year, let's just say he had San Antonio well measured from the very beginning. And I'm just afraid that preseason draw that he might be going into that old bag of tricks that nobody knows that Wilmer has. It might be carving out something special for us RGV fans. Just
No,
throwing it
I
out
think
there for you, Harry.
I will say this: the first coach, Darren Powell, and I love him because he was the first coach. Don't get me wrong, but Alan Marcina is head and shoulders a much better coach. It just tactics.
Marcina is a better tactician than Powell was. I'll give you that. I will give you that any given day of the week. But given Wilmer's track record with USL derbies against San Antonio, I think I would play some of my house chips with an RGV victory in my other prediction.
So bold predictions. I saw you just posted it. I'm going to give you 2.
Okay.
So I think if the match goes the way that I think it may, and I got to see the lineup here, I'm going to say San Antonio 5, RGV nothing. I think they're going to run them out of the park because I think RGV's yet to be tested behind, and I'm wondering if they can get them pressed. If they can get them down early, if they'll respond. My other bold prediction, and I think this one's more likely, one of the coaches is not going to finish on the sideline. I think one of the coaches will be given a red card off because, from my understanding, Wilmer has a pretty short fuse, and Alan Marcina has a pretty short fuse. So I think
so far,
it would.
that'll be interesting.
I think if there is a game, and with the rivalry game, and Marcina's already been sent out once, I think last year. He got a red card last year, and from my understanding, Wilmer's towed that line as well. That is my bold prediction. Is and probably the more realistic one is one of the coaches does not finish the 90.
So Blues fan says Wilmer's first derby was 0-0.
Yeah, it was 0-0-1-1-3-3. Yes,
Yeah,
you're correct.
and then he
Blues
says-
fan. Congratulations.
And then he says, but I am very proud about how you 3 have continued to provide content to an independent RGV. Hope all your families are doing well, and I am excited about the new RGV. Thank you, Blues fan. Really appreciate your support. I think we're doing well for the most part. There's been a few changes, but I think they've been for the better to bring in more content to you guys, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And
Dude, Gilbert,
a huge shout out to your family as well.
Thank you, Blues fan, as well.
Gilbert's post is not a bold prediction here. I do not allow that.
So says the San Antonio fan.
Dude, that's like a fact, where he goes, SAFC will lose after having a 2-0 lead. That's happened 4 or 5 times. That's easy money right there.
I mean, look, if Carlos Small was able to produce a brace being down a man, I can only imagine being up 3 and down 2 men.
Jacob, did you give your bold prediction already?
No, I haven't given my bold prediction, but I
All
will
right.
say this. I think I'm going to kind of piggyback off of Harry's bold prediction here and say this. I think Jerson's going to be able to calm Wilmer down enough to where Wilmer doesn't get sent off, but SAFC's head coach will get sent off because he does have a short fuse. I do agree with the short fuses. It's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fact. So I think it will be one of those because Jerson's been in the rivalries. That's my point. But I really do think at this point, yeah, we will see goal scored. Not only a coach getting ejected, a couple of players being sent off, this time from both sides. Yes, we will. Yes, it's back. It's back. We got to bring it out for a derby match. It's going to be 10 players each. It's not going to be anything crazy. both
I
players.
have
will get
heard
it off.
rumors that the friendly one of the coaches did not make it the full 90. When the preseason game was played up here in San Antonio. I have heard
Do we
rumors
have
that
facts that it's actually
the coaches are not on best friends terms. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, but
That's gonna
that's
put
gonna be,
that's
that's
gonna
gonna
give
be
some,
fun.
that's gonna give
But-
us spice to this game.
And I love it personally.
There you go.
It's when you got coaches that will fight for their teams. That says a lot. And like I said here, I love Coach Powell, and yeah, he was a little bit fiery, but he never crossed that line. It just he's great at coaching the academy kids and along those lines, and that's why I think he's doing really good in USL League One.
Mhm.
Because it's more growth oriented than in USL Championship. But to me, like I said here, having that fiery temper, can either do one or two things, to it here. And I think, obviously, I think RGV is probably a little bit more experienced with all the old guys that you guys have, with a lot of gray,
Mhm.
where maybe they can, but we've got a lot of MLS talent, so we'll see which one proves out.
Gilbert says there was something mentioned that pissed off some of the players. Interesting to see what that was. But Ray, your bold prediction.
Let's see. My bold prediction. It is gonna be RGVFC 3, San Antonio 2, and we'll win it at the death. We'll take it from the death and we'll apply to them la tragedia.
That'll be awesome. My bold prediction, 3-0 RGV. I think Derek is going to continue with his great performance. I think having Pimentel and Arturo Dispe a little bit more connected, a little with their chemistry a little bit better. I think that'll probably help. I think my other bold thing within that would be putting Camden Riley over Carter Manley. Since I do feel like I mentioned with Carter Manley, because he goes up, he kind of opens up some spots in the back. And I think having someone like Epps in the attack for San Antonio, he's going to take advantage of those spaces. So I do think, like I said, a 3-0. And I really do think that Elvis Amo is going to get a brace, and the third one's going to be scored once again by Vicente Sanchez.
El Chenton.
So
That's
I have
right.
one more question for you guys. And
Okay.
so the next 3 games for RGV, San Antonio twice, and at El Paso. San Antonio has RGV twice, and then home against Birmingham Legion. So both of us have pretty, assuming, taking RGV, being equals here. The next 3 games are going to be very challenging for both sides. What would be your expectation? I know San Antonio has 2 at home, 1 on the road here. And I think you guys are reversed, right? Where you guys are.
Yeah, we
1 at
started 3 at home, 3 on the road. This is the way I kind of see it. If Wilmer can start getting back some of these players with either visa issues, migration issues, whatever type of issues they have, and they can start getting a little bit of more game conditioning, I feel like the bench, I just feel like the selection of 18 will differ from what we've had here at home from what's going to be on the road. That's just what I think will be kind of like the outlook right now, that we're going to see like 2 different sets of teams only because of what's available to RGV right now, that they're able to have the fair 18 to 19, 20 players available for selection right now. I just feel like the road may offer a little bit, it may offer a different outlook. Now,
go ahead.
Now, if you're asking me as far as results are concerned, I would not be surprised if he comes back with 5 of the 9 points on the road, to be honest. And that road win coming at San Antonio once again.
Oof. I actually think because we got El Paso, we have so after this match against San Antonio at home, we've got El Paso and El Paso, we've got San Antonio and San Antonio, and then the Miami FC in Miami. I actually think we can get 3 points from El Paso Locomotive. I think we can manage to get a draw at Toyota Field, and I think we'll probably lose because of the distance. I think we'll probably lose against the Miami FC.
So I think that's the winnable one for you guys. If I don't think Miami FC is as good. They're older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's South Beach and humidity, but I think out of those teams, Miami's the weakest one out of them.
I don't know about that. You see, right now Miami is just a total head case within itself. I just feel like, for the first time, I think in league history, they've finally managed how to do a very compelling intra-conference schedule. And that's why I kind of say that this Miami FC team is a little bit of a head case, because we haven't seen enough of Miami FC to kind of say they're a weak link, they're not, and because they play on turf, that's kind of a bit of a challenge. And you take a look at El Paso, they play on a baseball diamond. So that's where I think where the 2 draws will come from. And of course, beating you in San Antonio would be an absolute great pleasure to deal with. Since it's a normal soccer pitch, but albeit with some spots of sand somewhere.
Actually, the pitch this year is nice. The pitch this year is good. So you don't have to worry about, at least at this point, you don't have to worry about that.
Maybe in the future. Yeah. But still, I mean, it's a great nickname. I like the sandbox, honestly.
Oh, I love it.
It's cool. I wish our park had something like that. Instead, it's just sponsored by AGB. That's kind of lame. We need a cool nickname. But, yeah, for me, I think it's a draw against El Paso because that is a tough team. In Miami, there might be a slight chance. And in San Antonio, slight chance is always against your rival, just like SAFC has a big enough chance as RGVFC do of winning at HEB Park this weekend too. So it's just tough to say. Again, Edson said it earlier, and it is true. RGVFC only have 2 games under their belt. Rey also did say this. RGVFC still have players out that definitely can come back in, make this team even stronger for the future. So there's still a lot of variables. Only time, of course, will tell. And honestly, picking up 6 points from the start of the season is going to be fantastic, in my opinion, as well as moving forward, getting a couple of draws on the road, getting our feet wet when you have to travel a long distance like El Paso, like Miami, because those aren't close flights in general, whether or not you're flying, whether or not you're driving. They're just not close to South.
And I don't
It's a 3-hour flight, right? From RG.
Yeah,
well,
and I don't
where were you
think-
guys flying from?
Well, see, here's the thing, though. I don't think RGVFC is going to make the same mistake as they did last season, where they drove by bus to El
They better
Paso.
not.
I thought Jerson said they were gonna fly the last time.
So only
That's
the
funny.
first
He
game.
was
So
on our
only,
show. I remember.
so only the first game they drove by bus to El Paso. From then on, they're like, you know what? We're not doing that again. We're going to be flying.
12? That's literally
12
a day
hour.
trip.
Yes, they did. And they said they're not going to do that again because the players were extremely tired, like by game time. But so there's that. Now, we'll be talking about more of this as the time to do so happens, which is starting next week. But this is what worries me about away games. Wilmer has shown, especially at MLS, has shown that he plays home games different than away games. People would play away games a lot more cautious, a lot more conservative than he did home games. And that gave him the reputation of, the team didn't play well in road games. So I hope that doesn't happen for the Toros in this season. But if we're going to be analyzing, away, my predictions were based on a consistent, play style, home or away. But if Wilmer is going to repeat that with the Toros, where he's going to be a little bit more conservative on the road than at home, that's where questions arise, at least on my end. But guys, I think we're gonna stop right here because it's almost gonna be 9 o'clock. Guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate all of your participation out there in the chat. Santos, Gilbert, Bobby, Mike, Sloth, Blues fan, etc., etc. Thank you so much for your support. I want to thank all our Patreons for supporting us financially. I know there's been a lot of improvements that we've made so far this off season. Thanks to your support, and so we really appreciate it. If you guys want to join the Down in the Valley Patreon family, go to patreon.com/DownInTheRGV. Harry's a member, a Patreon member of Down in the Valley as well. So Harry,
one of
thank
the
you
first.
yeah, pretty much. And you call that everybody out, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I also want to thank the Beautiful Game Network for their support to the Down in the Valley podcast for the last 3-4 years. So we're proud to be part of the BGN family. Want to thank their sponsors, Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC, and of course our personal sponsor, Natural Beauty Spa. But before we let you go, Harry, tell our audience where they can find you. Promote the hell out of your show, and of course your social media.
Yeah, so for San Antonio FC, you can catch the show on if you follow social media as SA Soccer Roundtable. Twitter's SATX Soccer. I also started kind of another podcast on the side that's kind of more global, I guess you could kind of say, or more domestic here. United Soccer FC through there. But where most people follow me is Ramincol, RAMINCOL. That's where you can see all my good and bad hot takes, for that here. And I do have to give a call out to Johnny for his horrific meme where he said that I was one of you guys. I don't know if you've caught it. I'll retweet it here.
I saw it.
For that here where he substituted the SAFC flags for all of the RG flags.
That was great.
Yeah,
Can I just say, Harry, that I think that the banter from RGV has been better than the typical put horns on a pile of poop that SAFC fans have been bringing all of these last couple of days. At least they've been a little bit more creative.
Years of banter that's been built up. It's you haven't really had anything to be able to banter about. Now that you're like, hey, we've got an actual real team, that's ours. That hey, let's let the creativity flow. Where San Antonio is still like RGV who. But I have seen the banter has risen this year. And I will say San Antonio's, especially with the supporter groups, are probably going through a little change this year. For that here, I know Mission City had a new president. The Crocketeers have had a new president. 210 Alliance has kind of picked it up a little bit more this year here, so outstanding, to them. Like I said here, I think San Antonio is going through kind of a little bit of adjustment supporters group wise for that here, which is good and bad, for that here. A lot of people are getting older like me that, used to, cheer and stand. Now I'm like, hey, I want to sit down and drink my adult beverages and watch the game, and enjoyed it that way. So there's a little changeover that's going on. And when you come to Toyota Field now, they've actually moved the supporters group. And it almost kind of mirrors what RGV has, where, it's at one of the end lines right behind the goal, where the Bud Light bunker was. Now it's the Michelob Ultra bunker. So they moved them down there from the 118. So There's some changes. I expect. The banter between San Antonio and RGV is only going to intensify, especially if the Bold do what I think the Bold are going to do. For that here, where if they are around, they're it's going to be a shell of what they are. At this point.
Jacob, where can they find you at?
Find me on Twitter at JacobYoung456. And if you want to see some mediocre gameplay and racing, then head on over to the Overreact Gamer on Twitch.
Be sure to follow, especially if you're racing fans. If you're racing fans, give him a follow. He's trying to be humble, but man, his racing, I've seen it firsthand. His racing is pretty good, for simulation racing, and not everybody can handle 24 hours of driving, even if it's sim. It's pretty difficult. I can barely stand an hour, and he does 24. My respects. But Ray, where can they find you?
They can find my YouTube channel at South Texas Border Sports, where my recent interview with Landon Donovan is up. They can find me on Facebook at South Texas Border Sports as well. Instagram as well, even though it's been a little lazy as of late. I got to step up that game a little more myself. They can find me at Twitter at SOTX Athletics IX ending at the end.
Yeah, I also just have to say this, traitor Landon Donovan. Yes, he should have never taken the Wells Fargo deal.
Yeah, sí, es con eso, güey.
Doesn't matter.
You're still with that. Like,
hey,
dude,
it's true, though. It's true.
Dude, he
He's
lost
already-
so much credibility, man.
He did, exactly.
Dude, he's like Alexi Lawless in my book.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
Alexi.
I would not go that-
I would not
go that low.
Oh my goodness, he should get a call-up. No, he shouldn't. That was them a week ago, him and Rob Stone.
Oh no. But all right, so
Oh no. Oh
oh
no.
no. Oh no. But guys, be sure to follow all of our social media at Down in the RGV on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also check out our Facebook page on facebook.com/Down in the Valley. This show goes live not only here on YouTube, but also on Facebook. So be sure to give our Facebook page a little bit of love as well. Promote that. Here's the thing. All 7 of you right now that are watching, if you guys have Facebook, promote the hell out of it. Promote the hell out of that Facebook page. We want to grow on Facebook as well. There's a lot of fans, RGB fans on Facebook that we haven't tapped into yet. Let's try to get more people onto our watches on Facebook and try to grow that community like that. So that is my number one goal for this season, is try to expand on Facebook with the views, with the comments, with the shares, whatever. But we want to get the word of Mr. Toro out on Facebook land as well. If you guys missed any part of the show, you can also check out the video archive as soon as the video ends, as soon as the stream ends. So find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and of course, Anchor.fm. Check out, you can also check out our webpage at ditvpodcast.com. And of course, if you guys are, since we do live in the Rio Grande Valley, if you guys are Spanish speakers, if you know people, fans, friends, family that are Spanish speakers, I am writing articles for Mente Futbolera explicitly about RGVFC. So I do post this on my personal chat. Follow them at Mente Futbolera, at Somos La Mente on Twitter, and at Mente Futbolera on Instagram. I post my articles right there. Give them a read, share them. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The last 30 days, out of the top 10 articles, I think 4 of them have been recent. 3 of them, the 3 of the top 10 were RGVFC articles. So I think it just shows how more relevant the Toros are right now compared to the Houston Dynamo. And I think that's got to say something. And I do want to applaud our fan base from last Thursday's match. They behaved themselves well. They behaved well. They did. My dad was right. The RGV fans showed that they are civil as well, because like I said, let's get rid of that chant. Let's get rid of malos entendidos. There's no need to have people complaining about our fan base because of the chant. So let's continue like that. Let's continue to support our toros. Continue to put pressure. We're gonna need you all on Sunday to put a pressure on San Antonio FC. Let's make HEB Park the fortress that it should be. But having said all of this, thank you all. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Harry, Jacob, Ray, for coming on. We'll see you in the next one. Be safe out there. Have a good night.